Hello, guys. Welcome back to the podcast. And as always, I'm glad that you took the opportunity to join us here today. So, today, what I thought that we would talk about is the concept of the environment that you find yourself in and the sense of emptiness that sometimes shows up in our life in various ways, and we try to address in various ways. So, when I mentioned the environment that you're in, what may come to your mind is the house that you're living in. Maybe you don't like the house or the home or the apartment or whatever it is that you're living in. Maybe the shape of it, the age of it, the color of it, the repair of it, whatever it might have be, is not quite what you would like your dwelling space to be like. Maybe your mind went to your relationship. Maybe that environment for you is not the environment that you want to find yourself in for all the various reasons that relationships may cause us those kinds of challenges, right? Maybe it was your job that your mind went to. Certainly, that environment is not the environment that at this moment you are particularly liking and finding excitement in, right? Maybe it's boring. Maybe it's even challenging for a whole variety of reasons. Maybe there are other types of relationships with family members, not just your close, intimate relationships that came to your mind. So there can be a whole variety of different environments in that regard. Maybe it's the city that you live in. Maybe it's the state that you live in, the country that you live in, depending on where you may be. All of those things also may come to your mind when I mention the environment that you're in and the things that are affecting your life. But actually, what it was that I was talking about was your inner environment, your state of mind in particular. And in association with that, your feeling states, your emotional states. What are those? Again, if you've walked this road for a while, if you've explored these things for a while, you have an understanding to whatever degree that it is your inner environment that then interacts with consciousness. And then consciousness is configured around you through the collaboration of this particular extension of you and the rest of you to have the experiences that you have. So, really, it is your inner environment that is the key to how your outer environment is showing up. Now, certainly, there are times, there are opportunities where what you need to do is you need to take some action to move away from the outer environment. Those things happen as well. Because sometimes certain aspects of the outer environment, quote unquote, need to express themselves in that way for reasons that you may never understand. And so sometimes what may not happen is that as you change your inner environment, you will see your outer environment shift and move and change. You may not. And part of that may be because what you're meant to do is to find a different outer environment, right? Again, in our experience here, this is a quote unquote physical reality. So, in that regard, many times it is physical action which is necessary, which may entail moving away from a particular situation, whether it is a relationship, whether it is a job, whether it is leaving the country that you're in. It can be a wide variety of things, right? So, there's a mixture of things. But what goes on within you is going to give you the strength, the ability, the awareness, the understanding, the hints, the clues, all of those things that'll be necessary to make those external changes are going to come from within you, right? That's where all your information is there, right? And so that's what's so nice about this exploration is allows you to have greater and greater access to everything that lies within you so that you can then apply it to your life. So those inner environments, many times, that flavor our life, that bring our life a particular feeling state that sometimes feels very thick, that sometimes feels very difficult for us to move beyond. And so there are a number of those that are kind of deep, foundational, we may even say. Ideas, concepts, beliefs, and feeling states that are quite common with a lot of individuals that find themselves in deep, challenging places. So the state of hopelessness, the state of helplessness, the state of worthlessness, and associated with that, concepts of not feeling capable, which is really associated with helplessness, concepts of not feeling deserving, concepts of not feeling loved, and concepts that feel like you don't belong, right? And so, capable of what? Incapable of having a good relationship, incapable of playing the part that you believe you should be playing in having that relationship, incapable of keeping your house clean, incapable of getting the kind of a job that you want, incapable of raising your children the way that you believe they should be raised or that your belief systems say they should be raised, incapable of taking care of your bills the way that most people take care of your bills, whatever it might happen to be. There's many, many things, right? So that concept of being helpless, that concept of being stuck in helplessness is very strongly aligned with the idea of feeling capable, right? You are feeling instead helpless. You don't believe you have the abilities, right? The capability to be able to do so many things. So here again, as many of you have already found out, and if you're early in this path, stick with the path, because what you're going to find out is that as you continue to broaden your awareness of self, all of this strength, all of this awareness, all this ability lies within you, and you'll be able to bring it to bear on all the different aspects of your life. It really doesn't make any difference what it is. And it's sticking with the exploration. It's exploring the exploration in all the ways that seem interesting to you in the moment that will help you to do that. So let's talk a little bit about deserving, right? What do you believe that you deserve? What don't you believe you deserve? Do you believe really that you deserve love? Do you believe that you deserve to love yourself? Do you believe that you deserve money in your life or anything else that's nice in your life? Do you believe that you deserve respect in your life? Do you believe that you deserve to be happy in your life? Do you believe that you deserve to be guilt-free in your life? Right? Again, there's so many different things. That whole concept of deserving, which again is tied into that idea of worthlessness. Do you feel that you have worth? Right? The concept of, again, we mentioned feeling loved. Do you feel loved? Do you believe that you are capable of being loved, that you are deserving of being loved, right? And that, do you or do you not believe that you belong? Do you belong in the family that you're in? Do you belong in the race of human beings? Do you belong in maybe the school that you're going to? Whatever it might be, the way that you perceive other individuals around you, perceive yourself, and then compare, right? Comparison is, I'm going to say it this way for now, a very deadly thing to do sometimes, right? Because what it's about is it's about allowing you to be you in whatever way you shows up, right? Now, of course, the you that's there, especially in the beginning stages of this, and that can last a decade sometimes 15 years of exploration, but it depends. And again, in this time period, in our shifting period, maybe we'll say, the ability to move beyond those things is enhanced compared to what it was in, let's say, the 1960s, 1970s, 1980s, and 90s. As we move into our 2000s, it gets more available to us, shall we say. Maybe not necessarily easier in that regard, but certainly more available. The information is more available, more around us, more easily accessible by ourselves. And so the concept of understanding your uniqueness and that you're meant to express yourself in the way that you're meant to express yourself, not the same as anybody in your family, not the same as anybody else in your job, any of your friends, any of the individuals that you're associated with in any way, shape, or form whatsoever. That's their expression, right? Yours is yours. And this exploration, again, will help you do that. Getting to know yourself, getting to become more aware of who and what you are will do that. The more that you embrace that, the more that you can pull your attention away from how everybody does things around you and how maybe you should be doing things or how it's normal to be doing things. And I know, again, that many times that is going to take some practice because we're very, very used to that. We're very used to looking around us at other individuals and, in a sense, determining how we should be expressing ourselves in regard to what we're seeing those individuals do. What you don't understand is that many times they're doing the same thing. They're looking around themselves, looking at how all the people around them are expressing themselves, and then trying to fit in. So these particular concepts of feeling helpless, feeling hopeless, feeling worthless, and the other associated concepts and ideas can be very powerful in our lives. And there's all sorts of ways that you can approach these. But if you've walked this path for a while, you either may just be getting into a deep understanding of this, you may be on the fringes of it, or you may be in the midst of it by now. And by that, what I'm talking about is that as you move in this direction, as what your focus is to become increasingly aware of you, then as a natural byproduct of that focus, the rest of this stuff shows up because it's all part of the package of you. Trusting yourself, understanding that you're worthy, understanding that you're deserving, right? Understanding that, of course, you are accepted and loved are just natural parts of who and what that deeper you experiences all the time, infinitely, right? And so as you become increasingly familiar with you, those deeper yous, right? The wider you, the deeper you, the higher mind, whatever you want to say, the soul, right? All those qualities are there. They're just naturally there. And so the more you become familiar with you, the more those then begin to fill your experience of you, this experience of you. So it's a very powerful thing to do. And you don't have to worry about techniques and methods of trying to have these things in your life. Because again, they're the natural byproduct of just becoming you, of becoming your you, your own unique you, because that's what the inner you is looking to do, right? It wants to express itself in this physical reality in a unique way, in a way that nobody else is doing. The self, all that is, the oversoul, the soul, whatever you want to say, is never about duplication, not in exactly the same way ever. Sometimes close, right? But as far as a theme is concerned, as far as an expression of life is concerned, it wants to do it uniquely, right? You want to do it uniquely. So what it takes then, of course, is you, through your exploration, to be able to move to a place where you feel confident in being able to do that. And that's what so many individuals, of course, are exploring in this moment, right? Gaining in that confidence, gaining in the ability that they have within them, bringing that ability forward and expressing it in their lives in whatever way they want to express it. So here we'll tie in the other concept that I was talking about earlier in this feeling of emptiness, right? So depending on usually the types of experiences you had when you were young, even when you were conceived, right? You have various ideas about the way that you feel about yourself, right? in context of all these qualities that we just talked about. And so, in association with that, you can have a large sense of emptiness within you, or just a little bit of sense that something is missing within you. Or maybe, and you don't even really need to be on this particular journey or know that you're on this journey. You may be on this journey, but not know it because you don't approach it this way, but you just feel fulfilled in your life, right? And there are those individuals that are out there too, that it's not necessarily about a spiritual exploration for them. They just feel natural in their life, right? Their life just flows for them. It feels natural for them. They feel good in their life. They feel good about themselves. Those people are out there, right? Now, are they the majority of individuals right now? In my experience, anyway, I would say probably not. Most individuals are challenged by something, right? So, again, typically that shows up, as many of you know, early in life. And most of the time, those ideas, those influences come your way by the root of those individuals that you hold to be important in your life. Whether it's your parents, your grandparents, other relatives, your siblings, perhaps, friends, teachers. Sometimes it's situations and circumstances that are important to you, that you are influenced in certain ways by, right? So there's all sorts of things. And so in that, what we do after a while, because in the beginning, usually when we're an adolescent, especially, we don't really know what to do with that. We don't really know how to fill that, right? We look around. Now, certainly during those periods of times, what we do is we attempt to whatever degree, we take action to whatever degree to throw off the inhibiting binders, maybe I'll put it, right, that we feel in association with whoever it might be, whether it's our parents, whether it's our siblings, whatever it might happen to be, right? We typically, in some way, shape, or form, push against that. We move away from that, right? We attempt to embrace who and what we are. And of course, in today's world, and this is late in 2023, that's happening in more and more diverse ways, right? So we're doing that. We are opening ourselves up to increasingly different and unique ways of expressing ourselves. And so we're challenging ourselves in that regard, right? Because what we're used to is particular models of what it means to be us. But as we expand into ourselves, as we grow into who we are, what we're going to run into, what we're going to encounter is uniqueness, differenceness, unfamiliar things, right? Things that are very different for us, right? And it's so because we don't know about all those various parts of us that are out there yet, we have no idea what that's like, right? Because we're used to what we have been doing, the way we have been, who we have been, right? As that begins to show up, we have to have an accepting and allowing attitude about all that stuff to let those things into our lives. And so this is part of that process early in our lives, usually. This is where, not necessarily that the educational part of college is better than doing it any other way, because of course everybody's going to have their own unique experience. What can be nice about a college situation is that all of a sudden you're thrown into a mix of a bunch of different individuals from a bunch of different places with all sorts of different ideas. And you get exposed to a lot of different ideas. That may not happen if you just stay in your hometown and you, let's say, start in a job working with somebody else, doing an internship or whatever it might happen to be in your local area. You may be continually exposed to just the ideas and the concepts that are in your hometown, right? So it provides you an opportunity to be able to do that. Things like travel do the same things, right? They open you up to different environments, to different ideas, to different ways of seeing how things play out around you, right? So they can allow those things, okay? So there's lots of things that can help in that regard to help you break the mold, right? To move beyond the sticking points, the feelings that you have, the feelings of emptiness that you have in various ways. So in that regard, of course, there's a lot of different ways that we then attempt to fill that feeling of emptiness, right? To do something about it. So you may choose relationships. intimate relationships. And in that regard, because it's not really the relationship that's going to do the trick, you'll find yourself perhaps having relationship after relationship after relationship after relationship after relationship. And maybe they end in very similar ways all the time, right? Now, if you don't have some idea that what you're actually looking for is the feeling state, the state of being that comes with this exploration, you can be hard pressed to move beyond those patterns sometimes. Even if you understand this, you can be hard pressed to move beyond those patterns because sometimes it takes running into the right individual, I'll put it like that, in the right moment to hear something in just the right way so that you go, oh, I never thought about it that way before. It affects you in a different way and it moves you in a way that other information hasn't so far. And it can be anybody at any moment that shares this type of information or even something that's like this, right? That all of a sudden you go, oh wow, and you can feel it in that moment. It makes an immediate beginning change. You know that it's going to start to snowball and it's going to open some doors for you. You don't know what the doors are yet, maybe, perhaps you do, but it's going to make those changes. So you can do that with relationships, right? You can try to fill that feeling of emptiness with a career, right? You can go to school, get a degree, keep going, get another degree, keep going, get another degree. And that in itself may be your way of filling that feeling of emptiness, right? You feel that you are doing something that makes you feel like you're someone, that makes you feel like you're worthy, right? You don't feel helpless any longer because you have this information. And it can work to a small degree. But what can happen many times is that, you create this career for yourself, and the career becomes why you feel better about yourself. But what you find is that you don't really feel better about yourself. You try to focus on the career and make it so that the career does make you feel better about yourself, but it really doesn't. So you keep pushing, right? You keep working hard on the career. You expand it. You expand your business. You do whatever. Because you know, or you believe that you know, that eventually what's going to happen is this is going to change the way that you feel inside. But a lot of times it won't. It can be an activity. You can be a runner. You can be a hiker. You can be a biker. You can be a weightlifter. You can do any sorts of things, right? It can be all sorts of sports, all sorts of activities. You can get very immersed in all that stuff, right? You can read books. You can be in book clubs. You can be in all sorts of clubs, right? You can play games with other individuals, video games. It can be all sorts of things. You can immerse yourself in anything that's out there in the world in an attempt to fill that feeling of emptiness that you have inside. Now, sometimes in the course of doing that, you run into information that starts to open some inner doors for you, that starts to bring you to some realizations, right? You never know how the inner you is going to set things up for you so you can run into certain individuals, right? Or certain information that'll help you in that regard. But without that, just in the maybe typical way, I'll say, of looking at things, just the activity itself is not going to provide for you the feeling state that you're looking for. It's not going to provide for you the shift in the way that you feel about yourself. You're not going to feel that you're filled. You're not going to all of a sudden through that love yourself, right? Feel nurtured by the things that you do, right? Have a sense of worthiness about who you are and what you do, right? When you're there, what you'll be able to do is you'll be able to sit on your porch, sit in your bedroom, sit at your desk, sit on the grass someplace, do whatever. You'll just be able to be someplace and be taking it easy, be relaxed, and not feel you need to do anything in order for you to feel fulfilled. right? You'll be able to just be with you. And in that, you'll still feel like you're worthy, right? You'll be able to accept yourself totally and love yourself totally. Now, you may not be close to that in this particular moment, and that's okay. And by that, what I don't mean is that, oh, it's fine that you don't feel good. What I mean is that it can be changed. You can change it. You can do something with that, right? I'm going to suggest this exploration is the way to do that, right? And so there are many individuals out there, of course, that share information in this regard, many. So allow yourself, which you may already do, to align with those that you feel connected to. But also, and I've mentioned this before, allow yourself when you no longer feel that connection. And it's not necessarily that you don't believe that the information that they provide is not valid information. It's just that you have folded all that information into who you are now, and you need to move now and bring yourself into an environment that brings new information into your experience, as far as you're concerned anyway. The rest of you has it all. The bigger you, the wider you has it all, or a huge amount of it, almost all of it, because even for all that is, there's new things happening all the time, right? There's new perspectives to be had all the time. So there's still new experience. But there's a you that has all that information at its fingertips, right? But for this you need to move into a place where there's something new that comes in, right? You're exploring now, you're experiencing in a different way. And so when that arises, allow yourself to do that also. All right. So attempting to fill that emptiness in your life by outside things, we'll put it, right? Anything that's out there that then when you bring into your experience, you are hopeful that it'll make you feel different, may do that for a short period of time, right? Because you're focused on whatever the experience is, right? And you may even be focused on it because in a genuine way, it is enjoyable for you in that moment to whatever degree. But in the background, one of the reasons that it's going to be enjoyable is because of the hope that you have of what it's going to do for you, right? And this then becomes the issue because it can really never be that will bring you where you want to be. Now, are there some of those things that can help? You know, if you find yourself in a relationship with an individual where this individual is accepting of you, they're nurturing of you, they express love to you, they express kindness and gentleness to you and things of that nature. Can that kind of environment lean in your favor? Can it help you in growing into who you would like to be? Certainly it can, right? If you will allow that, of course, right? And that depends on where you are, right? It may be very foreign to you. And actually, if it is that foreign to you, you may not bring that type of relationship to you, one that is totally that anyway, right away. You may, but you may find it very challenging. So again, the inner you will do things as far as bringing you situations that will allow you to move into those different ways of seeing yourself in a little more gentle way. And this can be relationships as well. In other words, you may not get a relationship where the individual is totally supportive in all various ways because that may be too foreign for you in that moment. You may not know what to do with that. You may push against that, right? You may begin to argue with maybe you compare yourself with the individual in that regard. This is a typical thing to do, right? You compare yourself. In that comparing yourself, right, because they're this incredible person and you have all these ways of seeing yourself that are nothing like that. And so in that kind of a relationship, you will compare yourself. And in that, you won't see yourself in a good light. And then what you'll do is you'll project that onto the other individual. You'll believe that they see all those things about you like you see those things about you. And then you'll start responding to them from the place that you feel, which has nothing really to do with how they may perceive you, right? And so the relationship will probably break up and it'll go separate directions anyway. So typically what you will do is you will bring yourself relationships that have got some of that in it, whatever it is that you can handle relatively easy, and then some challenges in it still, right? And then little by little by little, what you'll do, and again, some people will take bigger steps, it really depends on the individual, is that you will bring yourself nicer and nicer relationships, right? As you change inside, right? As you believe in your worth, right? As you believe that things are hopeful, as you believe that you very much have capability, right? As all those things begin to become a natural part of who you are, then it's easier for you to have relationships like that. Not only that, but then jobs that give and provide for you what it is you would like to have in your life, support you in the way that you would like to be supported. Of course, you're supporting yourself, but it comes through the job, right? And then whatever else it might happen to be. Now, at the same time, you can do many of these things. You can just have a natural desire to have deep relationships. You can have a natural desire to have children. You can have a natural desire to have whatever vocation, whatever job it is. You can have a natural desire to involve yourself in whatever event or sport or whatever it might happen to be. And it's just really a part of what you want to do. You're not trying to fill some void by doing it, right? I'm not saying that all of those aren't fine, right? I'm not even saying that doing it by trying to fill the void isn't fine. It's okay. It's not a problem. It's not wrong or bad, right? It's just not going to provide you with the results that you're looking for to provide, because it's not by bringing those things in your life that you shift and move. It's by understanding yourself that you shift and move. And again, as you explore you, as you open the doors to you, all of that comes naturally as a part of the package, right? In other words, you don't have to look for all these things to start feeling like you have hope. You don't have to look for all these things to start feeling like you're capable. You have to start looking for all these things that start to help you to feel like you're loved, right? Or you have worth. It's a natural part of the exploration, because all those qualities are there in abundance with the inner you, with the wider you, with the higher mind, with the soul, with whatever you want to say. They're all there. There's no end to them there. So as you open up to who and what you are, they naturally become part of your experience, right? You will experience a sense of peacefulness. You will experience a sense of calm. You will experience a sense of self-assuredness. You know, it's some of these things that really, in my opinion, are the most important parts of this exploration. You know, there's been a large movement ever since these types of ideas, conscious creation, became familiar, became popular, where it's about how much money do you make? How big of a job do you have? How incredible of a business can you create? Whatever it might happen to be. And all of those are fine. But really, if all those show up for you and you don't have a sense of peace within you, if you don't have a sense of self-security, if you don't have a sense of calmness within you, if you don't have a sense of yourself within you, then the other stuff really doesn't feel so hot, right? So it's moving to a place where your feeling states are so very different that then allows you to enjoy whatever it is that you have in your life. In fact, I'll suggest to you that what begins to happen is that because you enjoy your own state of being, because you feel very fulfilled and satisfied in it, then you naturally start to bring other things into your life that support that feeling that's already there, right? They're just a natural flow of who and what you are, right? And we've talked about before, and of course others have as well, the concepts, the things that you want to pay attention to give you a little hint that this is the direction that'll be like the most likely for you to have the kind of experience that you want to have, right? To pay attention to insight, to pay attention to impulses, right? To pay attention to your intuition, right? To pay attention to, are you curious about that, right? Or if I think about that thing versus that thing, which is a little more interesting, right? Or it might even be as strong as, well, if I think about that over there, that feels pretty exciting for me. Okay, right? Those types of things, right? I've talked before in the audio podcast in particular, and I think I have a episode there that is titled this, but it's the eyes of the self, right? Things like intuition and insight and inspiration and impressions, right? Impulses. There's many others, right? But eyes being the letter I, because all those words begin with I, right? So the eyes of the self, as well as the feeling state that you have, because of course, again, the inner you, and whatever word you want to use for that, has that natural feeling state there, right? That sense of assuredness, that sense of excitement, that sense of exploration, that sense of inspiration, right? All those types of feeling states are a natural part of the quote unquote non physical you. So when you feel those in association with your attention being drawn to a particular event or subject or person, whatever it might happen to be, you know what you're doing is you're connecting with the state that tells you that that's a nice direction for you to take. And so follow those directions, right? And really, it is the state that is the important thing to pay attention to, not necessarily the things. Because from our perspective, what you can do, you can believe that there's this particular progression that should occur, right? You'll have some ideas about how things should happen, how things should open up. And you look for the events or the circumstances or the people to be the ones that show up, that allow that flow to move the way that it's supposed to. But really, that's not what it is. It's all these other things I just talked about, right? The eyes of the self, the feeling states, right? Those things are the things you want to pay attention to, because you never know what's going to show up that will bring you to the next step in your journey, right? I've talked in the podcast before, and others have mentioned it like this too, but it's like there's a mountain next to a valley, and this you is in the valley, and it's trying to get to a particular destination on the other side of the valley, but it has no idea of all the things that lie ahead of it in the valley. But there's this other aspect of it, other aspect of you that will say sits on the mountaintop. From that vantage point, sees the whole of the valley, sees all the things that could cause you problems, all the twists and turns, the better ways to go, the ways that aren't so hot to go, all those various things. And it's like that you has a walkie-talkie that can talk to this you, right? Now, the first thing that needs to happen from this you's perspective is to turn the walkie-talkie on, right? Which means, okay, I have an idea that I have this connection to the inner me. That's turning it on. I know it's there, right? And then you got to turn the volume up, which means that you're actually trying to listen, right? And then when the information comes, you need to take action on the information that you're getting, right? If you don't take action, because again, you're in physical reality, and so action, physical action, is so many times important parts of that. If you don't take physical action, when the higher you, when the deeper you provide you with that information, then you won't get the benefits of that, right? And a lot of times what will happen is that it's not that the higher you will discontinue being supportive, because it won't, but you're not going to seem to get as much information. It's going to be around you, but you're not going to pick it up. It's the acting on it that, in a sense, moves you forward in the flow, right? To then information that really is already there. But in order to see that information, in order to hear that information, in order to be aware of that information, you have to, in a manner of speaking, you have to have burned up the other information. You have to have used it. You have to have taken action on it, done something with it, right? And then you form like a momentum in your life. One thing flows into the next thing. And then things start to flow into your life from a variety of different angles that help you with that, right? Information shows up, people come into your life, circumstances show up in your life, all sorts of things begin to become supportive of what it is you're doing, because you took action and you continue then to take the action. It doesn't mean that you need to know ahead of time what that action is going to be. In fact, many times that's part of the journey, is trusting yourself, trusting that when the information is important for you to have, it'll become available in your life. And you don't know where from. That's part of it too. Don't worry about where from. It will show up, right? The more you can trust in that, the more it'll happen like that. You never know where it's going to come from. You may just hear part of a conversation that someone's having, right? You may see something on your computer screen. There might be a text that shows up for you. There might be something that you see on a billboard or a bus that goes by, whatever it might happen to be. There's so many ways. It pops up in your mind, right? It pops up as part of a feeling state. A song shows up in your mind, right? Just a part of the song, right? And it's there like over and over and over again. It's like, okay, what's that about? Maybe it's dreams. Maybe it's daydreams. There's many, many ways that information shows up for you, right? And so learn to be mindful in that regard. Learn to kind of have that, your feelers out in many different ways, and just kind of loosely be aware of the things that are going on around you, because information shows up in many different ways, right? And then we have the idea that we talked about before about, so how does it feel, right? How does it feel to point yourself in that direction and maybe head in that direction? And you can even do that, I'll suggest, before you take action. Think of the various things that maybe you could do from this moment and imagine yourself moving into those things, and then pay attention to how does that feel, and then pull yourself back and then imagine yourself going out and do that, and let it evolve for you in your imagination. In other words, let your imagination work with you. In other words, don't try to so strongly steer your imagination, right? Because you don't know how it may play out. So just begin the process for your imagination, and then let whatever comes into your imagination come in as you think about the various directions that you might take, and then see, well, how does that feel, right? So then what you can do is you can kind of give yourself some hints about, well, this, I've tried these. This one feels like it may be the way to go. And then you can go ahead and do that. That can be an effective way to do things, right? Or if there are two things and you really in the moment can't tell, maybe you're not necessarily using that technique and you can't really tell, just begin one. Typically, it doesn't take you getting too far into it before you recognize that there is more resistance here than you should be feeling. And so then you can back up and you can turn around, and you can do the other one, right? So that's an effective way to do things as well. So again, this exploration, I'm going to suggest to you from my vantage point, from having involved myself in doing this for the length of time that I have, it's been almost 30 years now, I have been able to witness for myself all the various things that I've moved beyond, all the questioning of myself in all the various ways, and all the experience, of course, I had as part of that. I've seen how that's changed my life. And because I have done this for the length of time that I've done this, I am familiar with a very large number of individuals who do this also. And as a result, get the opportunity to observe their lives as they grow in their awareness, and to see how their lives change, just like my life changed. So if you're just getting into this, if you're only a few years in, right, understand that this is what will happen for you. You will find yourself in a place where you won't question who you are any longer, where you embrace who it is that you are, where you will like being unique. You will like expressing yourself as you express yourself, and you'll be comfortable with it, right? Because realize again that you're the one that's creating your experience of reality, of your reality. I'll suggest to you that the only reality that you know is yours. You don't know somebody else's reality, right? Because all of the way that they express themselves, all of everything that they do is going on through the configuration of your energy and consciousness that you're configuring. Because really, the direct interactions are going on, we'll just call it behind the scenes, right? We'll say maybe in spirit, we'll just call it that, to make a delineation that really doesn't exist, but it seems to, physical and spirit. So it's in spirit, it's behind the scenes that all those interactions are directly occurring, right? There's like an overlap, a meeting room kind of, right? You can have a virtual meeting room, right, on Zoom or whatever it might happen to be. We'll just use that example, that metaphor here, okay? So when we decide to have experiences together, that's kind of what we do. We have this common area where all these ideas and themes are developed, right? But when you express that in your reality, you get to interpret those in your own ways. You will interpret those in your own ways. You're experiencing your idea of what all that means, right? You're manipulating consciousness so that it matches your beliefs, so that it matches the concepts and the themes and the ways that the higher you, the higher mind, knows things are effective for you to do, for yourself, for your own theme, for your own exploration. There's a mix of things, right? But of the things that, we'll just put it like this, of the things that have been discussed, we'll just say it that way, right? Of the ideas that the souls have that come together for this reality, and smaller themes too, like let's say your workplace or whatever it might happen to be. That behind the scenes stuff is interpreted by you. You filter all that information through your own filters, and it shows up in your life in its own unique way. I'm going to suggest that until you have quite an awareness of self, you won't even know what somebody else's reality is all about, because they're having their own reality. That soul is expressing their reality, configuring consciousness, configuring their energy in their own way. And you don't even know what that is. You know your experience of reality. You have to have a huge degree of awareness to be able to do that. Most people aren't there yet. Most people can't reach into somebody else's reality and actually know what's going on in someone else's reality. Some people can get bits and pieces, but most individuals don't have that ability yet. There's nothing wrong with that. Eventually, we'll get there, right? And then we'll leave so many things behind. So the thing is that focus on your experience of reality, right? And understand that even the reactions that you get from other individuals are a reflection of how you think people are going to react to the things that you do, right? Like in this exploration, sometimes people are a little reticent to allow themselves to express themselves in their new self assuredness, right? Because of some of the ways that they think people might respond or react. Or sometimes they feel maybe a little guilty about that, which is interesting, right? But they do, because maybe the people around them haven't quite gotten there yet. So they don't want to be fully them because they're worried about how those other people may respond to that. They don't want to make them feel bad. You forget, though, that many, many individuals around us have plenty of examples of challenge around them, right? In all the various ways that challenge plays out. They don't have as many examples around them of actually being able to do this and what someone's life looks like when they embrace this and they've shifted and they've moved. Allow them to see that, right? So be who you are. Express yourself as you get to a place where you feel better about yourself. Express yourself in that way. Just naturally express yourself in that way, right? It's important for individuals around you not only to see that quote unquote in physical reality, but to feel it in energy, right? The stuff that flows through all of us, right? That's a very important thing. So allow that in your life. Allow you to do those things for yourself and for the people that are around you. Because it's an important component of what we're doing here, right? Is to support others in physical actions, yes, but like that as well, right? Because again, it's the example that we set for individuals that many times is the much more powerful thing. You can tell people all sorts of stuff. Many, many times they don't do that. Kids are really good at that, right? You can tell them all sorts of things, but they will watch what you're doing and they will follow your example, right? So that's true with adults as well, right? They'll watch how you're doing things. You may have no idea you're being watched, right? But people are watching you as you go about your day, as you're doing all the things that you're doing. Wow, did you? I see the way they responded to that. Oh, they dropped that cup of coffee all over their desk and they didn't even flinch. There was no swearing. There was no outburst. There was no nothing. They just pushed their chair back. They went up and they got some paper towels. They cleaned it up. They did what they had to do with the stuff that was on the desk. Maybe they went and got another cup of coffee. It was all fine, right? Whatever it might happen to be, it can be the smallest things, right? They'll see your example in things. So that's something nice. Embrace who you are in that. Embrace your growth, right? Allow yourself to express the new you that's there all the time, right? And it may happen day by day by day. You may be growing very rapidly or whatever the pace is. Again, it's a unique thing. It's about you. It's not about comparison. It's not about a race or any of that stuff. Just embrace yourself. Embrace yourself in whatever way you've come to see yourself, right? Allow yourself to be the you that you are. So I think today that's going to be it. And again, probably with this, what I'll do is I'll release a companion audio podcast for this, just in case you want to listen to this while you're driving or cooking or whatever it might happen to be, and you don't want to watch the video at the same time. So I'll probably do that too. But again, thanks for being here. I enjoy being with you. And take care. And I hope your journey is going well.